All right, everyone, help me welcome our keynote speaker for today, my sister, Sha Nacino. All right.
Good morning, everyone. Are you happy to be here? I'm happy to be here. Who among you, it's your first time to see me in person? Okay, so I can repeat the same jokes. All right. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge a few familiar faces. Miss Mirna, she's also an author. And Miss Rose and Miss Edith, okay, they are they inspired me. So they were here around 7 or 8 a.m. 7 a.m. Can you guess their age? Okay, I won't tell. But they look much, much, much younger than their age. Okay, so I'm so happy to see each and every one of you here. Can you just smile at the person beside you and just tell that person, I'm happy to see you here. Okay, so today is a very exciting day because we're going to talk about how to speak effectively in public, even if you're shy or introverted. Can I see a raise of hands? Who among you here believe that you are shy or introverted? Wow. Wow. 80 to 90% of the room. So we're in the right crowd. We're in the right room. How about the 10% extroverted? Where are you now? Okay. So everyone is here. And who among you are excited to learn? Excited to discover the secrets on how you can inspire your audience and connect with your audience? All right, everyone. So this is going to be fun. But before I share with you these secrets, these tactics, let me share with you my story. Is that okay? All right. I used to be very shy and introverted. In fact, I was so shy. If you ask me to speak in front, especially during class recitations, I'd rather vanish. That was how shy I was. I even thought being shy was a sin, to the point that when I was in college, I would go for confession and I would tell the priest, Father, bless me for I have sinned. I'm very shy. I was supposed to recite in class, but I didn't recite. So I was so guilty. That was how shy I was. It was painfully shy. It was so uncomfortable. And I remembered in 2007, I decided to do something about my being introverted, my shyness. And so I joined this organization, and I was to deliver a speech in front of 20 people. So there were 20 people, and I was standing behind the lectern. I looked at the 20 people, and just like that, I forgot what I was supposed to say. I experienced what you call mental block. My knees were literally shaking. I was so nervous, and I could feel that a tear was trying to escape my eye. And so what I did was I hid behind the lectern. While I was hiding behind the lectern, I realized, wait a minute, I'm already a grown-up, and I'm hiding from my audience. So I stood up again. And by that time, my tears betrayed me. I was already in full tears. I was crying in front of 20 people. And the people in the audience were so kind. They were telling me, it's okay, Sha, take your time, take your time. And so I took my time crying. When there were no more tears left, I went back to my seat. And that was my first ever speech. So I was so much worse than probably most of you when I started. And now fast forward to today. Okay, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer. And I was also asked to be a district trainer for Luzon in Toastmasters International. And what this does is I train the club officers of different Toastmasters clubs all over Luzon. So from someone who was so shy, who couldn't even speak, who cried in her first speech, I became a trainer for Luzon. Okay? And then now companies invite me to speak to their employees, and they pay me to speak to their employees. All right? One of my most kilig moments as a speaker was when I got invited to speak in Malacanang at the office of the President of the Philippines. And the story was because I wrote a book. Okay, and they invited me because I wrote a book. Today, I speak in big conferences. So one of those conferences was from Brother Bo Sanchez's Wealth Summit. Who among you knows Brother Bo Sanchez? Of course, everyone. All right. And one of the biggest audiences I addressed was in PICC in front of 3,500 audience. And I spoke for, I think, 2 or 3 sessions. So speaking in front of 20 people, speaking in front of 3,500 people is the same. Okay? It's the same in terms of your heart, in terms of your perspective. It only differs because, of course, you have to project your voice to accommodate 3,500 people, to speak to each and every one of those people. I remembered when I gave a talk in this university, so there were about 1,500 students in a gym, and I could see that some of the students were fanning themselves. So it was hot in the gym. The lights were dimmed. There was only the spotlight on stage. It was a perfect time to either sleep. It was a perfect time to either chat with your seatmates, etc. So 1,500 people in a gym. And my prayer before my talk was, Lord, I don't want to miss out on not even a single person. I want everyone to be with me during the talk. So that was a very grand dream. I didn't want not even one person to be left behind while we're doing the talk. So I wanted everyone to be in the same page that I was in. Because when you're a speaker, you're on a journey with your audience. You're one with your audience. As a speaker, you're not better than your audience. You're just performing different roles. We are communicating. We are talking. Okay, we are talking. Most of the time, I'm the speaker, and most of the time, you're the listener. But it's the same. We're communicating. We're talking. So that was my prayer. And as a speaker, you could feel if your audience was with you or if you disengaged your audience. Okay? You can feel if your audience is listening to you or they're tuning out. They are daydreaming. I could feel that. I could see that. So anyway, during my talk at that university, I could feel that the 1,500 people were with me. All right? Even the person who was sitting in the farthest part of the gym, I knew I was talking to that person one-on-one. And then a few days after the event, a student from that university emailed me and she said, Ms. Sha, thank you for your talk. Even if we were seated at the farthest part of the gym, we were taking down notes and we were listening. So my feelings were affirmed. So what am I saying? Whether you're talking to 20 people, to 5 people, to 5,000 people, to thousands of people, there is a way to connect to them one-on-one. We're connecting, but I'm talking to all of you. We're connecting, but I'm talking to all of you. There is a way to do that. And I'll share all of that today. There's this common misnomer about public speaking that if you want to be a good speaker, you have to be really articulate in the English language. You have to have the twang, you have to have the slang, or things like that. But that is a misconception. And later on, during this whole day activity, you will discover that your own personality is perfect for you as a speaker. You don't have to be the gregarious person. You don't have to be the extroverted person. If your personality is malambing or sweet or silent type, you can be a speaker and you can be listened to. Okay? So you don't have to be another person in order to speak effectively. Okay, so are you excited? So let me just continue my story. And now I'm an author. These are some of the books I've written so far. And also, I just got my certification for Jack Canfield Success Principle, Jack Canfield's Success Principle. And just recently, I developed a new mindset. I'm not just a speaker locally, I'm now a global speaker. So this was a new mindset I developed. And then I realized, oh yes, I'm already a global speaker because I've been speaking to different countries already. And then, just recently, I attended this Global Speakers Convention for speakers in Singapore on May 2018. And I was able to develop connections with the speakers, with the global speakers. And so, after that event, there was an idea. And the idea was to come up with an event, online event, for global audience. And the event I'm coming up with is called HR Summit Global. So why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because I want to encourage you that when we attend seminars, when we attend events, pick one thing from that event that you attended that you can apply right away. You don't have to apply everything, but pick one thing that you can apply right away so you don't get overwhelmed. So from that event, one thing that I got was to create an online summit for a global audience. And so implement that. All right? And this was one of the guest speakers, Manoj Vasudevan. He was the world champion of public speaking. In 2017, he bested 35,000 candidates all over the world. And I was able to get him to speak at this event. So again, I'm telling this because I want you to gain perspective. From someone who was so shy, who was introverted, who cannot even speak in class, now I'm talking to world champions. Now I'm addressing the world. And if I can do it, you can do it as well. So tell the person beside you, if she can do it, I can do it as well. Okay, my goal, whenever I give talks, whenever I do a program, a seminar, etc., my goal is that your results should be much, much better than my results. For example, it took me 11 years to become better in public speaking. It took me 11 years to learn the art of communicating with people one-on-one in a big group. It took me 11 years to learn how to inspire people in a speech. Now, in this one-day event, I'd like to share with you how you can do that. And if any of you have read my books or have been students to some of my courses, you know that I love formulas. There is a formula for writing a book in 90 days, even if you're not a writer, and even if you're busy in your job or business. There is a formula for productivity. There is a formula for managing your money so you can make your dreams a reality. There is a formula for happiness. Everything is a formula. It's the same way with public speaking. Once you learn this formula, you're off to go. You would be able to communicate with your audience, engage your audience, and inspire them. And I'll share with you this formula. And this formula is so simple. Okay? This formula is composed of 5 components. And later on, you will learn that. So we will go through each of the 5 components later. And again, one of the guests for that summit I'm organizing is Bo Sanchez. Okay? And there's another guest that I invited today. He is also the guest of the HR Summit. So why am I doing this public speaking workshop? One time, I was invited to give a talk in Laguna, far part of Laguna. I think it took me 3 to 4 hours to drive to Laguna. Okay, so I gave a talk, 1-hour talk, and after my talk, I sat with the audience. So the next speaker was now on stage, and at first he was engaging for maybe about 3 to 5 minutes. After that, he started facing his slides, and he was so engaged with his slides. He was so engaged talking to his slides. And then I was there with the audience. I could hear that the students were now chattering. They were laughing. They were throwing crumpled papers at each other. They were not listening. And I was there in front, and I stayed for 1 hour until that speaker finished speaking. And that's when I realized how challenging it is to listen. So imagine if I'm talking to you for a whole day, 1 hour, and I'm not connecting with you. I'm not resonating with you. It's so challenging to speak, to listen to me, right? So I was there I had the perspective of an audience, and I was telling myself, wow, so this is the perspective of an audience when the speaker is boring. It is so challenging to listen. And then I thought about the speaker, who is now my friend. He drove for 5 to 6 hours just to get to the venue, just to give the 1-hour talk. Of course, aside from the 5 to 6 hours going to the venue, he prepared for his talk, right? Let's assume he prepared for his talk. Let's assume he gave time to create the PowerPoint. And he really sat down to prepare for his talk. And then after his talk, he had to drive 5 to 6 hours going back to Manila, far part of Manila. So imagine driving for 10 to 12 hours to give a 1-hour talk, and the audience was not listening. The students were not listening. That's a waste of time on the speaker's part. And that's also a waste of time on the audience part. And more importantly, that's a waste of time on the organizer's part, because they paid for the speaker, they paid for the venue, they took time to invite the audience. I have very high respect for the speaker, but maybe because of lack of training in public speaking, because this is a skill that can be learned, maybe because of lack of training in public speaking, he was not able to communicate his message really well. And so at that time, I made a resolution. How can I help people gain confidence in speaking? How can I help them clarify their message so that the audience will listen to them? How can I help them connect with the audience? So that was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And today, it's now a reality through this public speaking workshop. So it took time, but we're here. So I'm going to teach you what I learned in 11 years, what I learned that worked, and I won't teach you anymore what didn't work. Okay? So what will you expect today? I will teach you the formula to speaking in public so that you can inspire your audience. And then I will also share with you the proven strategies on how to conquer your stage fright. All right, can I see a raise of hands? Who among you here are afraid of public speaking? Okay. Okay, so let's talk about why people fear public speaking and what can you do. Simple things that you can do to conquer your fear in public speaking. And of course, okay, let me give you a heads up. There is an opportunity for you to be evaluated by me as you deliver your speech. Clue. Okay, hint, hint, hint. Don't worry, that will happen after lunch. Are you excited? Okay. Change the word nervous to excited. So when you say, oh, I'm so nervous to speak, you say, I'm so excited to speak. Because when you change your language and you change your physiology, you change the outcome. You change your emotions. Okay? So those are the things that I'll share with you in this entire day. And of course, let's have a lot of fun today. Okay? By the end of this one-day workshop, I want you to go out of this room more confident and more equipped when it comes to public speaking. Whether you're a manager presiding a meeting with your subordinates, whether you're a CEO communicating the vision of your company to your employees, whether you're an employee communicating with your boss, or whatever profession you're in, or maybe you're a speaker and you want to speak more confidently. So I want you to come out of this room feeling more confident and feeling more equipped. Okay? So is that a deal? All right. So I mentioned that I invited a special speaker. He's also one of the guests at the HR Summit Global. And I invited him because he walks the talk. Okay? I experienced his leadership in Toastmasters. And in fact, it was not just me who saw how good a leader he is, but the entire Philippines. So in the Philippines Toastmasters, the hierarchy is there's the top, there's the head of Toastmasters in the Philippines, and there are division directors. So the division directors would head several clubs and several areas within the Philippines. And then they would choose who is the division director of the year for 2017-2018. They would choose based on his ability to lead, based on whether he accomplished the goals or not, and many other factors. And our guest speaker today is not just a great communicator, not just a great leader, but he's also a great father and a great family man. So one of the things I admire about him is that he's so good at his work. He's so good in Toastmasters, but he's also a great father and husband. So I'd like to welcome our guest speaker for today, distinguished Toastmaster, Jason Brimon.